Hello everyone and welcome to another team preview for the Overwatch League 2023. We are running out of teams. We're always also running out of time for the prime to begin. So I'm trying to get through all these West teams. So we're going to talk about the London Spitfire today. The last 5 teams that I want to talk about, they haven't announced a full 6-player roster yet, which is just really annoying. So we're going to talk about a team that we know their 7-man roster. They just haven't fully announced it yet. And the reason we know it is because they leaked their own scrims against the Vancouver Titans. Yes, it is going to be the London Spitfire. London Spitfire are a team that defied all expectations last year with the roster that nobody rated very highly. Christopher believed in the players, and through the power of friendship, they ended up having a great season, making it to pretty much every single LAN and performing very well. I think they finished top 6 in the end of season playoffs, a place that nobody expected them to be. So let's talk about the core that they're bringing back, and then we'll talk about the 2 players that we know are coming in but have yet to be announced. So we got Sparker and Backbone as the DPS players for the London Spitfire. Sparker is an absolutely incredible player who became of age towards the end of 2021, and we had high expectations in 2022 for him, and he absolutely exceeded those expectations once again. Very good Sojourn player, absolutely hitting heads. He is that carry potential that they need from this roster. I expect him to be staying in that main role as that hit scan, who can also play, some Tracer here and there if required. But Backbone was the player that really stood out to everyone. No one really had any expectations for him as a player. He didn't have a big, career in contenders in the way that he was getting hyped up like some of these other players. But he came big for the London Spitfire in a massive way. He is obviously known for how good his May is as a player. It really enables this brawl style with the Reinhardt that Hardy likes to play. Backbone is an important backbone piece of that setup for them. But he also was able to sort of stretch his legs a little bit and show us what other flexibility he has in his wheelhouse. He played a little bit of Widowmaker. It looked great. He played some Genji, which he struggled with at the start of the season, but then it went on to show he is very adept at that hero. He even made the flexibility and switched over to Zenyatta when they didn't have Landon in their lineup, picking up the hero and actually diffed a couple of very good Zenyatas that we have in the league and actually impressed us to the point that if they ever put him on Zenyatta again, I wouldn't hate it. But they do have other players to fill that role now, so hopefully he doesn't have to do that. But Sparker and Backbone, very solid DPS duo. We'll talk about the third piece they add in just a second. We got Hardy returning on tank. Hardy is massive redemption arc from his 2021 season. He looked like he was lost, looked like he didn't deserve to be in the league, honestly, just straight up in 2021. But he really sort of stepped it up on so many other things other than the heroes that he just needed to play. His Wrecking Ball went leaps and bounds above what it was in the 2021 season. He has control. He's being able to get a lot done. And he did have some solo carry performances. His Winston looked solid. And obviously his signature Reinhardt, nobody knows how to deal with. It's just so aggressive, so oppressive. And it is one of the keys to London Spitfire's success of playing their own style and sort of enjoying that. He was the Dennis Walker Award winner just recently in 2022, just because of how he's turned around his season. We then have Admiral and Landon in the backline. Admiral, very good Lucio player. He's definitely not the standout main support player that you expect, but he's so solid. He always does exactly what is needed of him. He can play lots of different things. Just a solid player to keep around. I don't have too much to speak to him. I can't sing his praises as I could with the others, but definitely deserves to be back again for the London Spitfire this year. Landon, who was a mid-season signing in 2022 for this London Spitfire, there was a lot of eyes on him. People were surprised that Landon was the choice that they went with, but Landon, very, very strong player. He carried me to an experimental tournament win, a year ago. And if he can do that and carry the London Spitfire last year, then he absolutely deserves to be here. Playing that Baptiste as his signature hero, I think, last year, primarily in the brawl, absolutely dominant, has a lot of confidence, willing to go for those aggressive plays when needed, but overall just very solid player on all the flex supports as a whole. So those are the 5 that we know and the ones that we expected to be back. So let's talk about the 2 extra players that are coming in. We got Lethal. The reason we know that these players are signed to the London Spitfire, because it hasn't been officially announced, is London Spitfire and Hardy actually himself leaked his own scrims against Vancouver because someone gave him a bunch of subs on Twitch. So if you want to see more London VODs, just gift Huddy some subs. But we actually got to see Lethal and Sky Ripper, who is the other player that we'll talk about in just a second, play in a scrim with London Spitfire against the Vancouver Titans. So Lethal is coming from Redbird Esports. Lethal's just been around the Overwatch scene since 2019. He's been around. He's gone through all of your classic contenders teams. Just a great hit scan and tracer player. He's Turkish. He recently in the scrim that we watched seems to be the tracer player for the London Spitfire. Even though he is a great hit scan player, from what we saw, the London Spitfire is still leaning on Sparker to be that hit scan player, and Lethal's coming in to play that tracer when they need to play like tracer hit scan and stuff like that. We'll see how Christopher and the coaching staff are going to implement Lethal more into this team, but a great signing. I think really fills that perfect third DPS role. I expect them to primarily stay with Backbone and Sparker, except for situations in which you really need that tracer. So the 7th player is Sky Ripper. So Sky Ripper, it should be a familiar name to you. He played for the Vancouver Titans last year, but actually didn't get that much playtime. Aztac was the primary player that they played. So he's a flex support player who only played 4 hours, according to someone in my chat that we were talking about just before. Only played 4 hours. So the bits and pieces that we did see from him, they were fine, but there's only so much you can do when you're on such a struggling Vancouver Titans roster. So nothing stand out from what we've seen from him so far. So he gets a second lease on life. He's going to come in. I would assume Landon will be the primary flex support player as they have so much pre-existing synergy. But if we go into double flex support and, 2 supports are going to be released throughout the Overwatch League season, having this sort of backup of Sky Ripper is going to be very important for them in this league. So I do like this signing as well. So that is the London Spitfire right now. They have 7 players. They got these 5 guys, the ones that you know and love, Lethal and Sky Ripper. It's a solid roster. It definitely doesn't have any of those crazy heavy hitters that we know from some of these other teams coming from Korean contenders. They don't have any Korean players at all, but I think it should be a solid roster again, especially with their coaching staff saying the same. They got Nuki, they got Christopher, Nuki as GM, Christopher as head coach, and Commander X as assistant coach. That recipe worked for them last year. I expect them to do the same, and I expect pretty similar results. The only different thing that I would say for this roster before I close this out is last year they had the benefit of being the underdogs. There is no expectation for them to succeed because everyone was expecting them to be last. And that can fuel you as a team of like, we can't really underperform to what people are expecting of us. We can only go up. And they did, and they absolutely performed well. But there will be an expectation for the London Spitfire this year to be able to replicate their performance from last year. So that does add pressure, and I'm curious to see how this team will perform now that they're going to have that scrutiny. Because if they end anywhere below middle of the pack, I would say in this season, a lot of people would say that's a failure for this team after how good they were last year. So I'm excited to watch this London Spitfire team. It looks like Brawl has a little bit of viability heading into the season, or at least the Pro-Am right now. So we could see the classic Chardy at the front line playing that Brawl style. But how good are they really going to be? There is a big question in the Pro-Am of, are the London Spitfire going to make it out of their groups? They do have, Team Peps, I believe, in their group, if I'm thinking of the right team, the right group. But London Spitfire, everything to prove. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below of this London Spitfire roster. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like this video, subscribe. I got 4 more teams to talk about before the Pro-Am starts, and I want to do a Pro-Am sort of crash course for anyone who doesn't really know the details of what's going to be happening. So lots of videos coming out this week. Make sure to check those out. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see all those. Thank you very much, and I will see you guys next time.